And we're back. Showyo.com, Joe the Mouth Fan Forum, and it gives me great pleasure to bring back an esteemed guest we've had on the show before, NBC Miami news anchor, does sports shows on 560 WQAM. He is the one and only the Adam Kuperstein. Coop, what's going on today, man?
Not much. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, man, thank you for coming on. I appreciate this. And, usually South Floridians, we're talking about the Dolphins or what bowl game the Canes are going to or what's going on in the football world or the NBA season, but surprisingly enough, I want to talk to you about Jose Reyes and the Marlins and what's going on with them. A 6-year, $106 million offer. He signed, sealed, and delivered now, pending a physical. How do you feel about that for the Marlins? Does that change the landscape of baseball here in South Florida?
Oh, for sure. They're players now. They put their money where their mouth is. They stepped up to the plate, to use the baseball analogy. And in this case, I'm not going to say they knocked it out of the park because that remains to be seen. They still have to add a pitcher, for everyone to really be satisfied that this is a championship contending team. But they're going to be a player because Jose Reyes, when healthy, is one of the most dynamic players in baseball. And they paid a lot of money. I'm not sure if I was running the team that I want to spend that much money on a guy who has missed that much time and he's 28 years old. But from a fan's perspective, they had to make a big move, going to the new stadium, get interest up, and get a player who can help you win. And Jose Reyes certainly can do that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, me as a lifelong Met fan, I live here in Port St. Lucie, spring training, home of the Mets. I know how dynamic and electric Jose Reyes can be to that team when healthy. And like you said, that's kind of the whole problem here. Do you think they spent too much? I mean, you personally, you think that $106 million, 6 years was too long?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. How good is he going to be in 6 years, in 5 years? I mean, he's got a seventh-year option, too. So either way, they're going to pay him. Even if they don't keep him for the seventh year, they're going to pay out $5 million. This is a team whose entire payroll, remember, was about, 30 million not too long ago? I mean, it was really small. So now they've really upped things, and I like the fact that they're spending. We've all called the Marlins cheap and some other names that are even more mean than that over the years. They don't appear to be that way anymore. And part of that has to be because they fleeced the taxpayers and the city and the county into building them a ballpark, 80% of which they're not paying for. So I guess when you get that much of a gift, you got to spend the money. They had no option now.
Oh, absolutely. And another thing that just came out today, I heard that the SEC is now looking into the financing of that new stadium. I mean, you don't really get anything for nothing nowadays in this world.
Yeah, no, they've actually been investigating since, I believe, Friday night. It just didn't really catch on, over the weekend. That news gets buried a bit with all the other sports news. But, no, they are certainly investigating. They want to know about campaign contributions that the Marlins may have made to these local politicians. They are looking at a few different things. We don't know exactly, what sparked and what triggered the investigation, but something shady was going on. Something at least shady appeared to be going on. And the Marlins changed the headline. When you sign Jose Reyes and you're talking to Albert Pujols' agent, people aren't going to talk about the SEC investigation first. That's secondary right now.
Oh, absolutely. And you bring up another great name. I mean, Albert Pujols. I like Gabby at first base. You're already going to move Hanley to third base. What do you really think the possibility of Albert Pujols coming to the Miami Marlins next year?
I think it's slim. My guess, my educated guess, is that he stays the same. I just don't see him coming to Miami, leaving there for maybe it's less money, the same money, which for Reyes. I don't know if they can really afford an Albert Pujols as well. But if they were to do that, it maybe could somehow get them to take a discounted rate because you got Hanley and you got Jose Reyes and all these great young Latin players. Although I don't know how old Pujols really is, but you've got these great Latin players. Maybe you can convince them, but to me, it's a real long shot.
I mean, if you look at the team now without Pujols, does that change the landscape with Reyes? I mean, you gotta wonder if Lomo can come around and not have as many bad slumps. You got a young guy in Stanton who reminds me of a young Darryl Strawberry. You got JJ coming back. I mean, you got a formidable team of young talent here, and I think Ozzie Guillen can kind of manufacture into making the Marlins, probably with or without Pujols, one of the top contenders in the National League East this year.
I'm not ready to call that until they get a starting pitcher, a left-handed starting pitcher. And I think they're going to get one. I'm not sure if it's going to be, Burley or what. You saw Heath Bell. That's a big-time signing for a closer. I think They need another pitcher, though. You look at the lineup; it's pretty solid. I mean, yeah, Reyes, Hanley, Lomo, Stanton, whoever's batting, third there, or excuse me, second, if it's Bonifacio or Infante, whatever. It's a pretty good lineup. But that pitching rotation after Josh Johnson and Gas Freaking Alasko, I just don't know if I can count on him to be a stud. But I would like to see another top-line starting pitcher because they're going to have to compete with Philadelphia, and we all know what their starting rotation looks like.
Oh, absolutely. You got 5 pretty much all-stars going out there all the time. And you mentioned Mark Burley, and I think that's an interesting story there as you're bringing in Ozzie Guillen, who already has a rapport with Burley. And like you said, you need that good lefty. I think Burley is the most logical sense filling the needs of the Marlins.
Yeah, I think he'd be a good choice. I don't know if it's going to happen. I forget what the latest news was, but something came out that I think he might be looking for more money. What about other guys? C.J. Wilson. Now, is he a lefty? I'm actually trying to remember right now. Is C.J. Wilson from Texas a lefty or not?
No, he's not a lefty, but his asking price of 6 years, $120 million for a guy who is not CC Sabathia quality. And when you're looking at contract lengths and workhorses, you got to kind of look at CC as the benchmark there, or a Roy Halladay or something like that. I don't think C.J. Wilson is worth that much money. What do you think?
No, I agree. I didn't realize he was asking for that much. Boy, that's crazy. I don't know if he's going to get that much.
Well,
it depends how desperate people are. I mean, your team, the Mets, they're not even willing to pay pitchers $10 million. I'm not sure anybody's going to want to pay that much.
No, I mean, the last guy who got the bloated contract as a pitcher was Barry Zito with the Giants, and that really hasn't worked out the way that they wanted to. I mean, I just think that 6 years, $120 for a pitcher who is not a front line. I don't even think C.J. Wilson is a number 1 in any other staff but the Rangers.
Probably not. Yeah, I mean, he pitched pretty well this past season. He was good, but probably not number 1. Not on the Marlins for sure. That would be Josh Johnson. He's still better. And, yeah, that's a lot of money. If he's asking for that much, I don't think he gets it, especially not by him.
I mean, it's really going to be interesting to see. And we were talking about the money that they have. Is it really the revenue? Is it really just coming from this new stadium? I mean, is that the only source? Is this why they're spending this money? I mean, no one seems to have the answer about why all of a sudden the Marlins are becoming, somebody said to me today, they're trying to become the Yankees of the National League, offering Pujols, getting Reyes. I mean, where is this money coming from?
Well, I don't know if they have the money yet. I think they're banking on if we put a team like that together and put it on the field at this new ballpark in a town that loves their stars, then the people will come and they'll spend the money and they'll stay in the seats and then we'll win and they'll spend more money. So I think it's a business strategy, spend the money to make money.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know that they have the money yet. I know that they've made some money thanks to revenue sharing,
Yep.
and that's part of the reason that some people here at Command have been happy over the years. So maybe that's their strategy.
It could be interesting. Now, on the last point here, you were just mentioning about how Miami loves their big stars. If they don't get Pujols, could you say that Jose Reyes would equal LeBron James in terms of what he brings for Major League Baseball here in South Florida? I mean, a sustainability. I mean, no one really went out to the Marlins games, only when they were winning. So is Jose Reyes kind of the LeBron James of baseball for the Miami Marlins?
I think it's a bit of a stretch. Let's not kid ourselves. LeBron James is an international superstar. You go to China and people will chant LeBron James if he starts walking around the streets. If Jose Reyes goes there, they don't know who he is. He just walks around anonymously. And even though you and I, as sports fans, we know the caliber of Reyes, he's not a once-in-a-lifetime kind of guy like LeBron is.
Yeah, that's true.
LeBron is going to be one of the greats of all time when his career finishes. LeBron is a larger-than-life superstar, so his value goes beyond the basketball court. Jose Reyes, yeah, he might be popular in the Latin community, but you're not going to see Jose Reyes all of a sudden as a national, pitch man for all these major corporations. He just doesn't have that charisma and that name recognition. So, yeah, maybe in Little Havana they'll start buying his jerseys, but we're not going to see gigantic billboards all over South Beach with Jose Reyes. I think most people in South Beach who aren't, big-time Marlins fans, they're not going to even care.
And that's the problem there. And I think that's the main reason why they went after a guy like Jose Reyes, is try to bring sustainability with that new ballpark, the new direction that this team is going to go through. And do you really think in the long term the Miami Marlins, will be successful in a Major League Baseball franchise moving forward?
Yeah, I have faith in this city and this town as a baseball having a good baseball franchise, as long as they're committed to spending money, committed to win. And you don't have to spend, you don't have to get all the stars to win championships. We've seen that before, where it doesn't necessarily work out. But more often than not, if you spend money and you have a good farm system, you're going to win. And that's the plan going forward. The Marlins have had a good farm system, and if guys like Dominguez, especially, guys like that can get their act together, then and come up and make some moves and actually contribute, then I really do think that the Marlins can be good for a long time, and that ballpark can stay full for a long time.
And that's the biggest thing, because I know the worst thing for me was taking the drive, the 2-hour, hour-and-a-half drive down. I only went down for Met games, and that's when you saw a lot of Mets fans there. But I think now with these new players, you're bringing in the new amenities and everything in this ballpark, it's just going to bring a new dynamic of fan to baseball here in South Florida.
Yeah, it will. I think the crowds are going to look a little different down there, and it'll be, I'm curious to see who turns out. Are people from Palm Beach County and northern Broward County going to still go to the games? They had some hardcore fans that came because it was so easy to get to Sun Life Stadium, and it's so easy to access it on the Turnpike. I'm curious about the traffic. How's it going to look on a Thursday night? They got a baseball game on a Friday night. How's the traffic going to be at 8:36? I mean, man. You want to drive? I don't like to drive down there during rush hour on a normal day. So add Marlins games, I'm not sure about that.
Well, it could be really interesting. I think a lot of baseball fans are going to be happy here in Miami. I mean, you do bring in a name guy like Jose Reyes, and I hope, as a baseball fan, not just only as a Met fan, but as a baseball fan, I hope this franchise is successful, because baseball is always fun to watch, and you do have a lot of baseball people down here in South Florida.
Yeah, it's got a long-standing tradition and history, and it deserves to stay here. And I think this is a move in the right direction, for sure.
Well, that's good. Coop, I really thank you for taking the time to join us and talk baseball, of all things, here in December in South Florida.
I love it. Let's do it more often. Thanks, man.
You got it, Coop. Thanks, man.